Living paycheck to paycheck is a reality for many people, and with the constant stress of making ends meet and feeling like financial freedom is out of reach. But breaking free from that cycle, it's possible.
That's right. I had the chance to speak with Jason Brown. He's a self-made millionaire and stock market expert who shares his 4-step process for financial success, and he offers actionable advice on how to stop living paycheck to paycheck and start building a secure financial future. It's always good to have somebody talking about how not to live from paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, it's an important topic. I mean, because I was once there myself. And so once you get on the other side, I think it's important to reach back and help people and explain the process to get on the other side.
Well, let's talk about that, too. You grew up in Detroit. What was that like growing up there, and how did it actually shape your perspective on money and success?
Yeah, well, growing up in Detroit, at that time in the neighborhood I was in, there was gangs, there was drugs. Every house had bars on the window. So you kind of think that that's normal. And it's not until you get outside that environment that, for me as a young kid, I started to question, like, why do we live in an area that has bars on the windows? Why do we have gangs in there? Why is our cars always getting stolen? And it really kind of, I started to equate that with, well, if you have more money, you can get into better houses and the better neighborhoods and live a better lifestyle. So it really got me interested in money at a young age.
Now, what mindset changes were key in helping you overcome the poverty and get your financial success?
Yeah, a few things from a mindset standpoint. I saw my mother work 2 jobs and never really get ahead. And so I started to realize like 2 jobs are for 2 people. That wasn't like the key to success. And then everybody that I saw on TV or that was wealthy always associated with either the stock market or real estate or running a business. And I thought, I don't have enough money to buy a house. I don't have enough money to open a business or the know-how, but it made sense that the stock market, I could hook my money and my caboose up to the companies and to the CEOs who do know what they're doing.
Right. And
I could participate with the ride. And so it just made sense to me.
So any advice you have for people who want to start investing, but they don't feel like they have enough resources or knowledge to do it?
Yeah, the advice I would give them is, number one, just make sure you create room or margin to take calculated risks, right? So there's no guarantees in the stock market,
right.
But if you can look at your finances and get yourself to where you're living below your means and anything extra you have to where you can take a calculated risk, that's the first place I would start. And then second, I would open an account because it's free to open an account and get access to the tools, start to learn, start to practice, and get a feel for what it's like to find and buy stocks and invest.
Jason, what would you say is the number one financial habit that you credit with for your long-term success?
The number one financial habit I would 100% say is just living below my means and knowing at all times how much money I have, how much is going out, and how much I have to create or take a calculated risk. That part is just so important, to be able to take a risk and know that if the investment doesn't pay off, you're not going to lose your car, your house, or your lights aren't going to get cut off. And I think that's what prevents most people from stepping into an industry that could change their life, is because if one thing doesn't go right, it could actually offset, their current way of living.
We mentioned this right at the top of the interview. A lot of people living paycheck to paycheck nowadays. To get out of that spiral, what's that first step that they should do to take control of their finances?
Yeah, so make a list. What I did, well, I can only share what I did, and that was I made a list of what do I really need to live. And when you break down those categories, you really only need food, shelter, and probably transportation. Everything else is kind of a nice to have. It's a luxury item. See what things that you can cut to create that margin. And then also start to get educated by reading YouTube, watching YouTube videos, or my book that's coming out, 5-Year Millionaire. Start learning, what do wealthy people do, or what do people who had come from humble means or with less resources, what did they do to get to the other side? The information's out there, but creating some margin and knowing like what your budget is, and then starting to get the education. Once you put those two together, you can start to make magic happen.
Jason, do you have any apps or tools or strategies that you can recommend for budgeting or investing for people that want to get into this?
Yeah, and so budgeting is not necessarily investing, but to some degree it is, because if you can stop paying overly priced and interest rates and things like that, you'll start to have some income that you can put into the stock market. But one of the things I would, or tools that I think everyone should have in their tool belt, is using stocks and options, right? Because your money can work for you while you're still working your full-time job. The market's open from 9:30 to 4 o'clock. So while you're working your job, your money could be working for you. In terms of budgeting, just a good old-fashioned Excel spreadsheet or a Google Cloud sheet where you just list out your expenses. A lot of people don't realize how simple it is to just sit down and just list out everything that you pay for and just really see what you can cut, and then start to shift that and say, how can I put that money into a new machine like the stock market and have it working for me instead of me always working hard for it?
You mentioned your book just a second ago, 5-Year Millionaire, coming out. What inspired you to write this, and who is this aimed for?
So I was super inspired to write the book because for me, when I made a decision that I didn't want to be poor, I didn't want to be in debt, I didn't want to live how I was living anymore, it took about 5 years before I became a millionaire. And so when I wrote, the book 5-Year Millionaire, it's really a roadmap and a blueprint for people who don't want to wait 40 years. Now, I can't guarantee that everybody will become a millionaire, but what I can guarantee is that you can start your journey to becoming a millionaire, no matter if you started late in life, if you weren't born with a silver spoon, if you didn't come from a family with a financial background. And so that's why I wrote the book for, to give and inspire hope for regular people and give them a roadmap that they too can, with as little as $4,000, become a millionaire within 5 years.
Okay, well, count me in. I'm going to definitely get that book because I started a little late myself. How to Stop Living Paycheck to Paycheck. Self-made millionaire right here. Jason Brown, thank you so much for joining us here today. And where can people get more information?
They can go to 5yearmillionaire.com and they can check out anything related to the book, or they can go to thebrownreport.com and check out my podcast, my YouTube videos, as well as some of my free resources like the Stock Market Starter Pack or the Stock Option Starter Pack. Those are free resources for people who have kind of no knowledge about the stock market.
Perfect. And I will be getting on that one as well for my knowledge. Stock market expert. And again, thebrownreport.com is where you can find all the information with Jason Brown. Jason, we appreciate the time this afternoon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.